On this week's show, Halloween takes a stab at the box office. Is it over for Marvel and Netflix? And does anyone care about the death of department stores? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great programs. Well, it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is, he is the gang leader of Humanica Media. You gotta check out everything that's going on today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Keep following, man. Keep following. That gang has arrived and it's ready for another great week of pop culture.
Oh yes, oh yes. And I took some time off of Tomb Raider to do this podcast today. So everyone out there, you're welcome.
Such harsh sacrifices, I tell you. Thank you so much. But it is another great week in pop culture we've got ahead of us, and it's another awesome show as well with all that's going on. Let you know right now, Rob McCallum is coming up in the middle of the Cosmic Crossfire. He's going to talk about a lot of great pop culture stuff, and we're going to get our usual, heated arguments and all that good stuff coming up later in the program. Plus, also Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. He is also going to be up later in the show as well, talking Week 8 in the NFL. But Josh, there's a lot to talk about here. But before we get into it, I want to make sure everybody gets a chance out there and gets a chance out there to go ahead and, if they possibly can, take just a couple minutes out of your day to go ahead and give the Pop Culture Cosmos, PCC Multiverse, or just Pop Culture Cosmos a good vote for the best society and culture podcast. Also, the best. I'm gonna start that over. And I hope it's going to be a great show, like I was talking about. But we want to make sure before we go ahead and start up, we've gotta let you know about the Discover Pods Awards. If you can at all, please, it's just a couple minutes of your time. It's nomination time for us. It's ending, I believe, later this week. Please, if you can, just take a couple minutes out of your time and vote for the Pop Culture Cosmos today as far in the categories of Best Entertainment, Best Society and Culture, and also Best Overall Podcast of 2018. If you do so, we truly appreciate it. We cannot thank you enough for doing so. The Discover Pod Awards, it means a whole lot to us as far as if we truly get recognized as one of the best podcasts anywhere around. We were nominated last year, and hopefully we will be able to, with your help, get nominated again. And if you do so, you take those couple minutes in time to go ahead and give us a vote. We truly appreciate it. Also want to thank the individuals that go in ahead. Also want to thank AC 12345678963 for going ahead and giving us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast. Anytime anybody goes ahead and gives us a 5-star review, we will try to go ahead and as best we can to acknowledge that on the show. Just go ahead and give us if you really appreciate what we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, 5 stars right there. It just says it all, and we cannot thank you enough for doing so. But first, on this week's show, we've got a lot of great things to talk about when it comes to Halloween. It hit big again. It hit big this weekend at the box office, an almost beating Venom at 77.5 projected, right around there when it comes to the domestic box office. Also doing pretty good numbers as well overseas. Your thoughts on why Halloween has struck well with audiences? People are really getting into it. Solid reviews all around. And really, it looks like a step in the right direction for a possible continuation of the Halloween series.
Did you see those memes that went out? because Jamie Lee Curtis has been outspoken in her anti-gun stance, and then someone goes, uh, it claims to be anti-gun, but used a shotgun against Michael Myers, and like, well, what do you expect her to use? Her hands?
No, I did see it, but that's kind of funny.
Anyways, yeah, no, I think this movie's doing so well just because it's something we haven't seen in a long time. You know how we kind of discussed how that stab 'em horror genre was dying. Uh, this is something that with the exception of filmmakers like Eli Roth and who else was kind of leading that movement for a bit, but
Well, I know it transitioned away from the stab and traditional arc of the horror genre that we've seen for so many years, as far as more of a psychological, more of a towards a jump scare type format, away from the slasher flicks that we know from the past.
Right. Well, if you think about it, though, with all the shows on like Discovery Channel, Travel Channel, things like that, about people having experiences with the supernatural, I think for a while, like that was the thing. You know, that's why The Conjuring did so well, and you have other haunted house flicks. Even look at, I know we're going to discuss this later, but Haunting of Hill House. Like people love the supernatural aspect, but I also think that because the slasher genre disappeared for so long, there's kind of gonna a renaissance going on for it, because also look at like the podcasting form. You have all the podcast about serial killers and stuff like that. People are getting back into that, and I don't know if podcasts are solely to thank for that, but there's also a third factor, which is nostalgia. You have all these people liking these old movies. I don't know how Predator did. I never really looked into the box office numbers, but you know again, we have not seen a movie like this in a very long time. And the fact that they retconned pretty much the entire franchise except for the first two, right? Or the first one. Um, that goes to show you that like this is a trend. It could create something like who knows, maybe we'll get the momentum back behind the Alien movies, and Neil Blomkamp will be able to make the one that he was talking about and everyone became so stoked over. But a lot of this I think is just nostalgia and the fact that we haven't seen this kind of movie in a long time, and it could also have something to do with the fact that Venom has been out for a couple weeks already, and without besides Venom, there's not really anything else out there that's really any good. But good for them for it was 77 million they made this weekend. Like, good for them. That's awesome. I hope that it does merit a sequel. I hope that all the movies that we liked back in the day start coming back, and we see a renaissance of more properties like this.
Just to give you heads up on the Predator, it did about $125 million worldwide, which is not, in my opinion, going to keep that movie going, because it took almost $100 million to make. So I don't see a great future for the Predator at this point in time. Maybe 10 years down the line, they're going to revisit it. But yeah, at this point in time, I think it's pretty much a done deal for that one, especially now that Disney owns it. So
yeah, and there's also the fact that these movies seem to exist on two opposite sides of the social movement, though, right? You have your Predator, which had Olivia Munn pointed out had a lot of sexism going on. Then you had the what do you call, like, the sexual harasser? No, he's what was that charge the guy had for allegedly he
Weinstein
slept with a minor? No, the guy that got cut from Predator. He's friends with.
Oh, okay, yeah. That I don't know what the guy's name was, but yeah, he was also somebody. He was in one of, I think, Iron Man 3 and whatnot. He's a friend, a personal friend of Shane Black.
Yeah, and then with Halloween, you have like a female protagonist that is actually kind of awesome. So it's good to see that happening, where Predator is a more like male centric movie. Halloween can appeal to both audiences, but it has a female protagonist, and that's something that seems to sell movie tickets these days, and good for them.
That it does, but it also leads me to believe that there probably will be more installments of the Halloween franchise. There wasn't and this is kind of going on a little bit of spoilers territory, kind of, so maybe you want to turn it down just a little bit. There wasn't a after credit scene per se, but I hear from everyone as far there was actually some sounds of some possible breathing, which could be a sign of life, which could be a sign of that obviously they want to delve into more episodes in the rebooted, like you said, the retcon story of Michael Myers. So we'll have to wait and see. I think they had a great idea that this was going to do well because it had been such a long time since we've really seen a effective version of Michael Myers on screen. Sorry to all those who are big fans of the Rob Zombie movies and some of the other Halloween movies that came after the original, but it looks like a lot of money and a lot of influence was put into as far as a new version of this Michael Myers story. And I don't think they were just going to do a one shot off of it. So I'm pretty sure that more Halloweens are on the way. Your thoughts now that Halloween is a big time contender back in the horror genre. Your thoughts on revisiting, or the most likelihood of a revisiting of, let's say, things, let's throw it out there, like Nightmare on Elm Street. Will that get retconned and rebooted again? Or maybe Hellraiser, or any of the other older type of horror movies that we know from the past that could see new life because of the fact that Halloween and It have both performed so well in successive years.
Well, is it okay? So Hellraiser is still a thing, aren't they? Like they're let me see. There was they just released like a straight to DVD one not too long ago. But
But
that
then
one
again, that's what you're saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Hellraiser to straight to DVD. I mean, the series has went from a movie that was something that was a first run, first release movie in the films to something that renditions and new editions, new iterations are put straight to DVD and almost an afterthought with audiences, and maybe just a few thousand people will ever want to see it or ever get the chance to see it or even possibly enjoy it. And the quality is not there and so on and so forth. If we, like I said, with the success of It and now Halloween, I think it's just a matter of time before you're going to see another reboot of the Nightmare on Elm Street series and other series, and could that include Hellraiser or even more, familiar horror characters from the 80s and 90s era.
So I don't know. I don't think that Hellraiser would be a place they're going first, but I can like there is a hardcore following out there for Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. What else was out there? There was even what's it called? Like the Silence of the Lambs, like movies like that. Those types of franchises. Psycho, even like look at how well the Norman Bates show did on A&E. There is a demand for it, and I think that this does open the door for that, but it also goes to prove that sad old, tale that we keep telling that Hollywood really doesn't have any original ideas. Like it's all recycled material. So it, yeah, there's a demand for it, but how long will that demand last? How long until, it's kind of the same thing. Because remember with Friday the 13th, they rebooted that and that had, what's his name from Supernatural in it. It had Jared Padalecki, I think was his name. That speaking of end credit scene, that one had quite an end credit scene where Jason flies out of the water like a dolphin. That was kind of interesting. But yeah, so this will definitely it could open the door for sure. I have no doubt about that. But again, it's the whole thing, like how long will it last? How long will a movie like this be in favor? And if somebody does it wrong, it really all it takes is one screw up to ruin an entire movement like that. So, and you know how picky audiences are in modern times. Like, look at the DC. It took them, Man of Steel was okay, but then they screwed up with Batman vs Superman, and now people have been hesitant to trust them on anything ever since then, even though they've had better films come out. So it's a risk, and especially with horror movies, it's a huge risk. So I can't even begin to predict where this will go, but it definitely opens the door for more movies like that, more breathing life into old franchises.
I know for a fact that I'm pretty sure that you can bank on Child's Play actually at some point in time getting a reboot. If it's not, I think
it's going on USA.
Oh yeah. See, there you go. It's already right there. Child's Play is already coming to USA, like you were saying. And as far as other ones, could you see another Candyman, or is that maybe not popular enough at that point in time to get to get something out there, or like you said, a uh, Silence of the Lambs. I think at some point in time you will see more and more stuff that we're familiar with. The Scream series that might get rebooted, but you're right, Child's Play is coming to TV, and maybe even that could evolve into another movie series again. Yeah, I think Hellraiser might be on that fringe of something that might be rebooted, but I still think something like that could possibly come to fruition if they're just really searching for 80s and 90s horror icons to come about. But it all starts with the success of It last year and now Halloween, which have both done big time numbers at the box office. Looking forward to seeing more from the horror genre, both good and bad. And like you said yourself, and you said before yourself, Children of the Corn could also be something that, that has been rebooted, hasn't it? But I can see, but if it didn't do well enough in Hollywood, it can be rebooted again, right? I think Children of the Corn was rebooted at some point in time.
There wasn't Netflix, right? Was working on something like that, and Pet Cemetery is another one.
Yeah, Pet Cemetery, that whole Stephen King's, back material, a lot of that is going to be retouched upon and done again, via Hulu, and it's various other outlets. We're seeing reboots of that as well coming up. And Pet Cemetery, like you said, with John Lithgow, I think in one of the title roles too.
Yeah, yeah. The because you think about like the ones that spawned so many sequels, even something like Jeepers Creepers. I know they just had Jeepers Creepers 4 or something come out, but like all of these franchises are prime. I guarantee that there is going to be, hold on, sorry, there's a jet going overhead. But I guarantee you, with the success of Halloween, all of these studios that own all of these horror franchises are going to be sitting down in a meeting room at some point within the next couple months discussing what are the odds that this series or this series can be brought back to life.
Like you said, nothing is original Hollywood, and if it does strike gold with something if it does strike gold with an old property like Michael Myers and Halloween, for the next few years, at least we're going to see to go back to a lot of what we've seen in the past, with some old characters being reimagined again, along with the side of the Conjuring series and some other familiar names that we've seen that have made their money so far in the recent past. We're also going to be seeing older, more familiar names from the distant past that will revive that hack and slash genre that many have forgotten about, but many will truly want to love again. What are your thoughts out there on the success of Halloween? Are you happy Michael Myers is stabbing his way through his? Are you happy Michael Myers is stabbing his way through movie screens again? Share us your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanic Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. That's what. Yeah, I would actually have a interview with Jason Todd Feinberg already in the bank on that, for his top 5 picks. And we're going to go ahead and add our top 5 horror movies on that episode coming up, the episode before Halloween, just to give you a thought. So,
Just say, cool. I can get Big Dog because he has literally watched every horror movie ever made, and I'm sure he would love to sit in on this episode.
that would be great. Yeah, grab him, bring him in on. Yeah, but I already have a pre-recorded on that, and I was already planning on getting our thoughts on that. Just on the side. I didn't comment on my horror picks. I just said him go ahead and choose his in a segment, and then we'll go ahead from there and get ours on that. So
Cool, man. Yeah, I love Halloween themed stuff, man.
there you go. Well, I'm also thinking about reaching out to Halloween stores to reach out to a PR spokesperson, see if they can come on the show real quick and tell me about what's hot for Halloween clothes and articles and last minute gifts or whatnot. So something I can get that worked up this week. I'm gonna try. So
yeah, man, for sure, that'd be cool.
All right, next week. Okay, next thing. Oh yeah. Before we head to the break, my friend, I just want to ask you real quick, did you read the news in regards to a continuing saga going on with Netflix and Marvel? Luke Cage is the latest show to be given given Luke Cage is the latest show to be put on the chopping block, as it unfortunately got canceled after, I believe, 2 seasons of the series. Your thoughts on what's going on, and this is this now a trend? Is Jessica Jones next? Is Daredevil next? Is the whole entire series for Marvel on Netflix over at this point in time? You think it's just a matter of time before you think it's just a matter of time before every single series on the queue for Netflix is done? And do you think there will be any more new episodes or new shows of Marvel entities, Marvel properties? Even the Punisher could be at risk right now. Do you think there's any more future between Marvel and Netflix?
No, I don't, because Marvel and Disney have been absolutely clear that they are going to let the Netflix partnership run its course, which is not everyone's saying, that's they're still going to support. They're not. What that means, at least to me, is that they're just going to let it run its course. There will be no contract renewals for any of that stuff. And as they start phasing out, they'll absorb those properties back into the fold. But the question here is, are they going to revive them on the Disney streaming service, or are those characters done? Are the actors done? Are the iterations of these heroes as we know them done? Because you go back and you look at like Netflix and reviews and stuff like that for like Iron Fist, season 2 significantly better than season 1. You go to Luke Cage, season 2 significantly better than season 1. Uh, Jessica Jones, same thing, season 2 significantly better than season 1 according to critics. But uh, again, like I don't see that show continuing either, because they have not confirmed that there's going to be a season 3 yet. And Daredevil is already the third season. I think I'm on episode 7. It's amazing. It's getting great reviews, but with Daredevil, I don't really see anywhere else that story can go. But my hope would be that before they end all of these, they'll give us one more season of the Defenders, just to kind of close out the story on this, kind of like the Infinity War Part 2. But how do you see them doing something like that? Because they've been saying that, like Iron Fist, he will live on, and Luke Cage will live on. So I don't know like what their plans are. I hope they give us some kind of farewell series, but it's hard to say. I don't see that. I don't see Jessica Jones living on, though. I have a feeling that they're going to announce, probably again late on a Friday night in a couple of weeks, so the media can't make a circus out of it till Monday, that Jessica Jones has been canceled.
It appears that that's going to be the case, I think, as well. With the Punisher, not even probably getting a season 2, maybe as well. That's that's kind of disappointing to see all these shows getting cut. I think it will lead to a Defenders movie or Defenders TV series for another season. I don't think it will. Well, I'm not sure if it will be on Netflix or on the new Disney streaming service. It's all going to be a matter of conjecture at this point. I think if Daredevil goes, and I also think if the Punisher goes, both of those, if everything gets wiped off as far as Netflix and Marvel from continuing in the future, then I believe at some point in time we're going to probably see them pop up in a Defender series on the Disney streaming service. I think, like you said, at this point, the Netflix Marvel relationship is beyond repair, and I think it's just a matter of time before we stop seeing any type of new Marvel product on on Netflix, because of the fact that Disney streaming service is going to have most likely a 2019 start date. And if that's the case, that would be in line with maybe a Defenders 2 series or something of that nature, where it incorporates all those individuals which you've seen on Netflix moving over to a Disney streaming service.
Well, I'm going through. Sorry, I was looking through just different press stuff regarding Defenders 2, and the actors have commented on the ending of their shows, but they're also hopeful that the season 2 of The Defenders is going to happen, that fans will get the goodbye that they deserve. So I don't know, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't, but it seems that Mike Coulter and Charlie Cox and even Finn Jones are really eager to see it happen.
I agree with you. There's still a demand to see them as a whole, but one by one, we're seeing these series from Netflix in the Marvel Netflix universe being cut but one by one. I think they should have done it in one fell swoop. If there really is, if their intent is to really just get rid of all these shows, and I think it just should have just happened sooner rather than later to all these shows on Netflix. True, their lifespan was going to be a Disney type scenario where they wouldn't exist after 4 years. I agree with you wholeheartedly on your previous thoughts on that. There was no way that these series were going to actually be each season going to be they were going to stay fresh for more than 4 seasons. I think Daredevil, like you said, at some point in time is going to run its course as well. So maybe getting out of the relationship on both party sides is probably it could be the best thing for both Netflix and Marvel. Although I would be, like I said, willing to give the Defenders another try if they came back in season 2. Although you and I were both kind of disappointed with season 1 of Defenders, I would like to see something a little bit better so that the fans get what they deserve. I think a little bit more, I should say, maybe a little bit more production value, a little bit more big, large scale. I think for the Defenders, which would, for me, be something that was well deserved and be something that's more fitting of them, because they have been series, they have been parts of the Marvel universe that have been largely subdued. And with the Netflix trying to fling out money wherever they can on buying new shows, putting new content out there, I couldn't see. I never saw the realization. I never saw the reason why they couldn't put more money and production value into the actual Marvel Netflix shows themselves. But we'll have to wait and see. As of now, as of this recording, Jessica Jones, The Punisher, and Daredevil are still kind of alive. But we'll have to wait and see if they get at the axe next, after Luke Cage and after Iron Fist have already. I think the future is growing darker for that cooperational effort between those two entities, and I see those. But I see personally those individuals, whether it be Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, The Punisher, Daredevil, the Defenders as a combined group, what have you. I still say if they are not going to be on as a collective group on Netflix, I still say there's one season left for them all on the new Disney streaming service. And I think that would be a cool way to have people jump ship from Netflix over to that new Disney streaming service. What are your... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I agree. We've invested all this time and emotion into these characters. I would at least like to see them have their last hurrah, or else really, like, no one's going to be trusting any future collaborations or not collaborations, but series when it comes to superheroes in general. I would almost go as far to say that it will speak bad of Disney's streaming service when they say, hey, we have a Fantastic Four series coming out, and everyone's like, no, we're good, man. You're just going to cancel that after 2 seasons. So they should give the fans what they want in this case.
I couldn't agree more. And my hopes is that they will go ahead and wrap a nice, tidy little bow on the relationship that viewers have with the Defenders. What are your thoughts out there on the Defenders and Netflix Marvel relationship as a whole? Were you disappointed at not only Iron Fist, but Luke Cage getting canceled? Do you expect more to happen soon after, like we do? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Coming up next, we've got Rob McCallum in the middle of the Cosmic Crossfire. And then right after, we've got Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast with some thoughts on Week 8 in the NFL. And then to close out the show, Josh and I are going to come back and talk about and Josh and I are going to come back. He's going to give a review on, where is it? Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. And does anyone care about the death of department stores? Because the way we shop is changing, and a lot of the things we remember so fondly are unfortunately not coming with us. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. Once again, just want to thank Rob McCallum of the Cosmic Crossfire, and also I want to thank Rob McCallum of Rob McCallum Films for stepping in the middle of the Cosmic Crossfire, and also as well Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. Catch both of these shows in their entirety each week on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and over 30 different podcast outlets, where you can catch this show, the PCC Multiverse, and a ton of other great programming as well. But if you want to check out our shows on radio, we've got an entire listing of all of our radio shows available now. You can check it out on our list. You can check out the listing now on our Facebook, on our Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source Facebook pages, where you can also get the link to the Discover Pod nominations and hopefully nominate us for the Best Society and Culture Podcast, Best Entertainment Podcast, and the Best Overall Podcast of 2018. And if you do so, we truly appreciate it. There's just a few days left, so you can if you can just take a couple minutes of your day in doing so and nominating our show, we would truly appreciate it. Josh, I know you got a great thing going on with Humanica Media show. So, man, lay it on me, man. What's going on with Humanica Media?
Topicocalypse is going on with Humanica Media. Also, there's a new episode of the PCC Gamescast going up tomorrow, I want to say, and that'll be available on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. So check that out. Also on Monday, check out a new episode of Topicocalypse and listen to us on the Podcast Radio Network this Tuesday, assuming the shows go on as planned.
And if it does go on as planned, it'll go on at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Podcast Radio Network. Josh, before we head on out, a couple last things. I know you wanted to give your take on Netflix's one of their hottest shows that's out there. It's called, well, in time for the season right now, with it being Halloween and all, The Haunting of Hill House. Your thoughts on the series, and if it's something that people should really get into and people should enjoy this Halloween.
Okay, so I went into this show. I just wanted to watch something that had something scary in it. And I had heard not mixed reviews, but I had heard mixed things about it. People are saying, they're all reviews in progress. So, like, is it a psychological show? Are the ghosts real? What's going on here? Just to give you a little background on the show, these kids grew up in a haunted, allegedly. I don't want to spoil it for you, but these kids grew up in what was called one of the most haunted houses in America, called Hill House, and they show all the things. The mom she dies in the house, and then so it fast forwards to 20 years. However many years later, they're all adults now. It kind of shows how, like, the psychological effects on these kids of growing up in a haunted house and what it's done to them, what it's currently doing to them. And of course, they eventually return to the house, and it does a lot of time jumps. So it shows, like, the things the kids encountered as kids and how those ghosts have kind of followed them. And at first, the ghosts feel metaphorical and kind of just in their heads, but then you kind of, as the show goes on, you find out that the ghosts are, I'm not going to spoil anything. Spoilers aside, we're not going to talk about that. But no, it's a good show. It's really well written, and the actors, they're not known actors. I know the oldest brother was in something. He plays the kid who wrote about the haunted house, and all of his siblings hate him for it because they called it blood money. He's making money off of their tragedies as kids. But I know he's been in a couple Netflix movies, but yeah, no, it's really good. The writing's really good. The cinematography is amazing, and especially if you're watching it on a 4K TV, it feels like it's right there in your living room, like you're there, you're in it. other than that, like I know Stephen King had got onto Twitter and had said a few things about the show, and he actually gave it some high praise. He said something like, "I'm not a fan of revisionism," but he went on to say it'd probably do the writer proud. It's definitely it's not your average horror show or horror movie. It is like it's got everything you'd expect from a good horror movie, but it's actually good. So I definitely, if you have the time, it's 10 episodes, 11 episodes, I want to say. Go through, check it out, man. You have any interest in sitting down and watching this at all?
I do because it's something that maybe it's just a time of year or something that we look more into the horror genre and getting scared and mystery, suspense, all type deal. We obviously get more in tune with that as it gets closer to the Halloween season. So yes, it is something I definitely want to put on my watch list. Want to check that out. That is Haunting of Hill House. That's available very soon. That's available now on Netflix. Catch it today if you're into as far as getting spooked out or trying to understand more about a lot about hauntings and things of that nature. About a whole, like you said, a reimagining, revisiting of this previous written tale. Check it out today. It's Haunting of Hill House. It's 11 episodes. Like Josh said, it's available on Netflix. And get it today and let us know your thoughts let us know your thoughts on how good it is, how bad it is. If you got scared, if you thought it was real creepy, want to share your thoughts on it. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Josh, been a great episode. Cannot thank you enough for sitting in, my friend. But also want to get, I also want to acknowledge this past week was also another disappointing week for those who have childhood memories like you and I of days gone by with certain things like we've seen already this year with Toys R Us, and now Sears, which Sears, which filed bankruptcy, unfortunately closing probably, if not all the stores here in the near future. They're going to be closing even more than the several hundred to a couple thousand that they had already over the past 2 years. They've been closing their stores. They also own Kmart, so the Kmart has been closing down their stores as well. I have some fond memories of Sears back when I was a kid. That's that being for many years at the time the leading retailer on the face of the planet, but unfortunately it couldn't get in tune with what was coming up with Walmart, Target, Best Buy, and now Amazon being the new face of retail. Your thoughts on the death or the impending death, unless they can unless they can find some real cash real soon with Kmart and Sears.
It is sad. I too have fond memories of Sears. I remember my parents would go in there to buy, or my dad would go in there to buy tools. My mom would go in there to look at appliances and stuff like that. And yeah, this was before Best Buy was a big thing. But I do remember that they had a special counter in Sears where they had video games. So you can go in there and they had, the glass cabinets and they had TVs with a little like you could pick up the controllers and play the latest Sonic the Hedgehog or Super Mario. What did I get there? I want to say I got Virtua Fighter there, and then when PlayStation came out, I bought Croc there. And yeah, that was always my favorite part of going into that store. And like, yeah, they had clothes and all and shoes and all that. So like, you could literally buy anything in there. Like that was almost an entire shopping mall in one place. But it makes me sad, yeah, that we're losing department stores. I don't know how much longer J.C. Penney's going to be around, or Robinson's May. I don't know if they're still a thing, or Macy's. But even like I know Target has been putting a lot of money into remodeling because they're trying to lure people back into their stores. It's sad to see. And the funny thing with Amazon is that people do prefer to buy things off of them, and the Prime is a good deal and all that, but by the time you pay for shipping, not ship the taxes and fees and all that stuff, you are essentially paying what you would pay in a store for these products. So I don't know, I don't want to go as far to say that it's people should shop elsewhere, but it's like you got to think about the price. Is the convenience worth losing all these stores where you go to do your Christmas shopping and stuff like that. So that's just where I stand. But I did read a rumor about Toys R Us coming back. Did you see anything about that?
Yeah, and the people who are trying to start it back up, they are not going to probably be able to get the naming rights to Toys R Us. So they're trying to create it something like Jeffrey's Toy Box, I think was the latest scenario, which doesn't quite have that ring to it. So it's already off on the wrong foot, off on the wrong foot. Yeah, I mean you need the Toys R Us name for it. That's just my opinion, and also the likeness of Jeffrey. But if you gave me one or the other, I would say you need the Toys R Us brand name because people are so familiar with it. My recollections as a small kid going downstairs to the bottom floor of my local Sears at that point in time in Torrance, California, I loved going to the arcade area there that they had on the side. Like you said, they also had later on in the 90s, they had a video game specialty area where you could just go ahead and try and play games all day there too as well. I remember doing that. It was just so fun to be a part of the Sears experience and understand where they were and what they were at one time as a retail giant. I remember the Sears catalog being so huge and going through it and trying to pick out stuff that I kind of liked that I would tell my parents and they would kind of ignore me to, say, can't do that, son. Can't do that, son. But okay, that's okay. That's okay. But anyways, I will say this: it's just sad, very sad. It's just very sad when another part of our lives, nostalgia, that it seems to be going away, as Sears and Kmart with such heavy depth. I think with such heavy debt, and I think I heard correctly that the last time they turned a profit was 2011. So they went into bankruptcy, but I don't foresee them getting much in the way of help or much in the way of long-standing funding for them to not only just survive but to try and thrive, unless they can totally reformat who they are. And because what they're doing now is not working, and what they're doing now against the Walmarts, the Targets, the Amazons of the world is just it's just not working, and it's just not working for many reasons, whether it's cost, whether it's availability, whether it's outdated styles, what have you. It's not they're not able to go ahead and face the challenge because they didn't modernize with the times. I was once way back when in one of the people responsible for a large part of a Montgomery Wards, and you can see at that point in time during the turn of this century how much that they did not, and they were how much they were resistant to change and the adaptation of what was going on in the world, as Walmart was just starting to get a nice foothold in our economy. And you can see that their end was going to be shortly lived, and unfortunately for them it was. And this seems to be something that Sears and Kmart are following soon after. Toys R Us has followed it already, and I don't know, at this point in time, it just looks very sad for those of us who have such fond memories of being part of these great and storied histories of Toys R Us, Sears, Kmart, and what else comes, and whatever else that looks to be on very thin ice at this point in time. J.C. Penney, like you said, and others, and possibly even at some point in time, GameStop as well, because that could really see a lot of issues down the road because the fact there's so much digital spending going on and not as many people are going out and shopping into stores.
True. I think that this also creates a problem with malls, though. Like, what's going to happen to malls? Because soon they're all going to become just husks. You're gonna like the one down by me in Westminster. I know you. Sorry, my Akira scroll's going nuts on the wall over there. The one down by me is just it has a Target and a JC Penney's, and that's really the big things on the outside. Everything else where there's like Macy's and Sears, they're just empty buildings. So and even still, you go inside and you have some anime stores, you have a GameStop, you have a food court and Vans, but other than that, like a whole in the mall, they knocked out a whole like area of shops and just put a gigantic John's Pizza, which is like a pizza place slash theme park indoors. So it just makes me there's not a lot of stores left in malls anymore, and it's sad because that was the culture I grew up in, and it's slowly disappearing. And I don't know, man. I sometimes feel like it is really difficult for people like us to look back on. I mean, you're around the arcade era, and I don't remember much of that, but like I do wish I kind of was around to see that. But like it's just it's hard with this, just seeing where retail is going and where services are going, and you just don't, it's vanishing, and it makes me sad. And even still, like I don't think customer service is something you get a lot of nowadays either. I don't think that the kids coming up can work those jobs because it's all about me. They can't be bothered. Like there's a whole meme culture on people who work in like retail stores raging against customers. So just it's not just the retail landscape that's changing, it's people. And I don't think that uh places like Sears, JC Penney's, Toys R Us, Best Buy even can survive in this new I don't know, this new era, I guess.
The digital shopping age has it, my friend, and unfortunately, we're going to have to get used to it because the future for brick, the future for many brick and mortar stores does not look good. What are your thoughts out there on the possible death of Sears and Kmart? Share us your thoughts. Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Josh, before we head on out, one last thing, my friend. Yeah, we had a discussion the other day on one of our previous episodes on The Nightmare Before Christmas as it hits 25. I just spent some time at Disneyland, and I'll tell you what, yes, there were a lot of offerings of A Nightmare Before Christmas. Yes, there was actual attractions, a lot of stuff to buy, a lot of stuff to get. But the biggest thing that made an impression to me was the fact that there were a lot of people that were there. And yes, I know the time of year and whatnot, but there were a lot of people there that were just hanging around, just going all over, wearing a whole bunch of Jack Skellington and a whole bunch of A Nightmare Before Christmas Christmas shirts, clothing, what have you. And to see that kind of love for something, like I had said, did not even make $100 million worldwide, because it didn't even go worldwide, and it just was only a U.S. domestic release, and it wasn't even a great success at that. To see the cult status that is reached because of it is just truly outstanding and amazing, and it is just a well-deserved 25th anniversary for A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, that you were. This is the time of year, Halloween. They probably, did you go into the Haunted Mansion and see the Night Before Christmas makeover? Which is
Yeah,
weird.
absolutely. But it's just the fact that everybody there, and it wasn't the part where we didn't go to the actual Halloween part of the actual park where they turned into a Halloween themed area. We were there for the general 2 days of park hopper, all that, and to see the amount of people showing their love for A Nightmare Before Christmas, it was truly awe-inspiring for a film that many said couldn't, many said that didn't, eventually could, and eventually did.
Yeah, it's true. I sometimes wonder if they'll ever think about going back and making a sequel, or if that's kind of become hallowed ground, you know?
I think with that one, I think you got to watch your really get. I think there's really a. I think you have to really watch your step on that one, because if unless Tim Burton decides to go back into it and really have a passion for it, I really think it's something you might want to avoid doing, because it's going to ruin a lot for. It's going to ruin it a lot for people. Maybe if it's done like a TV special, TV series, but not a full-fledged sequel type movie, maybe a Christmas special, the Halloween special type deal, maybe you could get away with that. But a full-fledged sequel on the big screen, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure that would fly unless you have all the support you can, from Tim Burton on this. That's just my opinion. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in It's another beautiful day in paradise, right here in the pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.